What's going on, my beautiful, ethereal, fashionable angels? It's your boy Daka, coming at you live and direct from the Haute Milk podcast. This is your new, frothy, fabulous show, spilling everything on fashion, sewing, and the broader couture culture. Hosted by myself, every episode is a blend of creativity, conversation, and a love for the threads that bind us all together. So come on in here, pour up a nice tall glass, and settle in for this week's episode. You won't want to miss it. Let's start the show. All right, man. Well, first of all, welcome back to another episode of the Haute Milk podcast. And we are now on episode number 3. That's what we're going to call this, episode number 3. So I am joined by an awesome guest here. I got Mr. Adrian Mills. What's going on, sir? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, bless. How about yourself?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. So today, I know we're talking about all types of stuff, but mainly we're going to be talking about your journey as an entrepreneur in this fashion space. You've got a great business called ASPS Luxury. So we're going to get into all of that, but I'll go ahead and just start from the very beginning. Let's just go back. So give us a little bit about who you are. Tell the people who you are, what's going on, just a little bit about yourself.
So I'm originally from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. Now I live in the Dallas, Texas area. Been working and doing this bag line for the last probably since 2019 is when I originally came up with the idea and kind of formed it. And it's just taken me quite a bit of time going through several different manufacturers and trial and error. When you're in the space that we're in, it's not many people that really give you a whole lot of information on the do's, the don'ts. So it's kind of like you're just learning on the fly and kind of trying to find solid foundation on what you're doing and try not to mess up, try not to overspend money, because all this I did was pretty much bootstrapping. It wasn't any investors, it wasn't any outside money. It was just me hustling and working and kind of working various different jobs, just getting the money up. So it's taken me, from 2019 to right about now, to kind of get going to production, which I'm finishing my production and my bags, my mini bags and my travel shoe bags will be out probably in November, right before Christmas.
Okay. All right. So getting up to that finish line, which, is always what we want to get to as an entrepreneur. But even when we get there, there's always something else. There's always, a next step, as I'm sure. So, but it's great that you have gotten to this point. Like you said, that's definitely the hardest point, getting that crowdfunding, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur, because this is just you by yourself. Got it. Got it. And I heard you say you're from Jacksonville originally. Lived in Jacksonville for my younger years. I'm from
Okay.
Charlotte,
Yeah.
military kid. So, we moved down there
Traveled
for a little.
around.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's what's up. So talk about a little bit, like, what made you want to start the line? Like, how did this idea come to you? Were you always in the fashion space? Did you always have an interest? Walk a little bit about through that journey.
So I kind of always had, I think, an interest in fashion from being younger. I think it comes from my mom, from being younger. She used to always, head to toe dress me in polo, Nike, Jordan. So I've always kind of had that love for fashion, but I never necessarily want to be in the fashion space. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but not necessarily in the fashion space. So it just came from kind of traveling and when you travel and you're going to the airport and you have your luggage, you got your shoes in there, you got your clothes in there, you got your just combining everything in there. And me, I used to be kind of like I guess you could say like a shoe connoisseur. I had a lot of high-end, high quality shoes that, didn't want to get them messed up, didn't want to get them scratched up. So just carrying everything in that one bag. And sometimes, you get to your location and your school shoes are scuffed or your clothes is dirty because the bottom of your shoes have got some on your clothes. So it just, from me, I think one night I went to sleep, and when I went to sleep coming home from a truck, it just came to my mind, like, you need to do a shoe bag. And that's kind of how the idea started. I was like, maybe I should do a shoe bag, but I didn't have an idea of where to go or what to do or how to do it. So I just did kind of like a bunch of research and talked to some different people, and they kind of, gave me some information on what I need to do to even get started on becoming, or producing, this bag. And from there, kind of birthed that idea, and I kind of focused and I kind of retweaked it and I kind of made samples and I retweaked it again. I made samples and I retweaked it again until I got it specifically how I wanted it to look, something that I feel like represents me. Because I've had some past ones that I could have put them out there, but I don't think they represent me and what I want my brand to look like. Everybody wants their brand to look a certain kind of way, and I think for me, I'm a perfectionist, so I want it to look a certain kind of way. So that's kind of where the idea came from, just really traveling to get frustrated with traveling and shoes and clothes in the same bag, and kind of came up with the idea of a shoe bag and kind of growed it from there. Not really something I was initially wanting to be, in the fashion space or be in the designer space.
Right.
It just creatively came to me, and I just ran with the creativeness that I.
That's great. I mean, sometimes I mean, that's all it takes typically, just that one little spark. A lot of times, design innovation comes from trying to solve, good design solves a problem that people have. And that's definitely one. I mean, I always have a problem trying to pack and go places, especially trying to pack shoes. One, because I'm like, I can only take maybe one pair of shoes, maybe two.
Exactly.
Oh, but then also, like you said, just trying to get it all in there, pack it in this carry on or even my rolling bag and not have it be so darn heavy. So there's that. Uh, but yeah, I've been able to see the design. I mean, it's on Instagram. I've seen, the website and everything. So, I mean, I have not seen anything like that before. So I think you've definitely got a great niche and you're hitting a good market because that's definitely something, especially the sneakerheads out there could definitely appreciate
Right.
or just have nice shoes and don't want them to get
Right.
crazy and, crunched up and everything. So talk to me. I know you've told me before about the name, but talk to me about where the name came from.
So the name kind of came from, the name is of all of our initials. So it's my initial, which is Adrian. Both of my daughters' name are Sarai and Salem, and my wife's name is Portia. So it just came ASPS, and it just kind of flowed when I said it that way. I was doing some different ways, but I just used all of our initials in the bag, and that's kind of how I came up with the idea of the name.
So you got the family all in the
I got a
legacy.
family involved. Right, right, right.
Love that, love that. And how has that been? One of the biggest things for being an entrepreneur, just being in any type of creative space is having that support from your family and friends. How's that been for you?
It's been great. As you know, like being an entrepreneur can be a very, very lonely journey. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of doing, but not really seeing results while you're doing or when you're in the process. So you have to have people around you that, believe in you, believe in what you got going on. That just gives you a little bit of a push to, you know what I mean, to kind of keep going. I've always been kind of a self starter type person. So if I believe in something, that's all that I need if I believe in it. But my family's been great in kind of pushing forward the idea. My wife came up with some of the colors of the bag you see. That was all her color wise in those colors. I just had a bunch of different swatches that I was looking for. And I was like, okay, what color should I do? And she put the two colors together. So that was pretty much all of her idea color wise as far as how we wanted that to look. And I kind of did the interior of it, some of the other things in the logo. But as far as the color, though, that brown and gray that you see, that comes from her.
All right, shout out to her. I mean, it's a great color pattern. I mean, it's neutral. It's also classic, so I think it attracts everybody. And so when you were first, let's talk about the journey of getting from, like you said, the visualization to now getting to a pretty much finished product where you're ready to go to market and you're ready to kind of put this out into the world. What was that process like for you from one finding people that could put this together for you. But then two, learning about the process itself while you're actively working through it. I know a lot of people, they see the finished product. They don't know all the steps, like you said, that go in. You've been working on this since 2019 and it's 2025. So like, talk a little about that journey.
So I kind of I first started off with somebody just told me, hey, you got to get a sketch or a design. I was like, okay, who's going to do that? So I kind of researched a couple different places and I actually found a girl here in Dallas and she went to design school and she actually literally designed that first design of the bag. And that just gave me a visual of how I want to look because I had it in my mind, but I didn't know how it was going to look on paper, you know? I just had an idea of what I want to look like. So from there, I got with a pretty good group, which is called, I think they're called Startup Fashion. I'm not sure how I found them or what, but it was a great mentor group. And I went through this program with them and they gave me a lot of the basics of what I need to know, your why and your target customer. It just gave me some of the foundational things that I needed in business use and find out what it's just a lot of different stuff that I had no idea what it meant. A tech package, so many of those different things that you have no idea when you've never done anything, or nor have I had anybody in my family do anything in fashion. So it wasn't like I could pick up the phone and I had somebody to call. So kind of going through her, that kind of gave me kind of a foundation of what I need to do as far as a manufacturer side. I've probably literally talked to probably 300 factories. I know I've talked to 300 factories and I've used probably like 4 or 5 of them. I went over to Mexico and I did some samples for them and that didn't turn out good. Then I went to New York and I did some samples for them that didn't turn out. So it's just been kind of like me just being out there and kind of keep working towards it. And then, sometime I got to a point where financially I was just exhausted with it. So I had to put it down sometime. I had to come back to it a little bit later, I might put it down for 6 months and come back to it when I got some more money to put into it. Um, so it's just been one of those things where I just been determined to make it happen, by any means necessary. I was going to make it happen. I don't care how long it took me. I know this was something I knew I had a good idea and I know I had something that was going to be niche in the market that I haven't seen out there. So just kind of, yeah, taking my time with it, trial and error, messing up, learning from those things, meeting some people that did, give me some good mentorship and some good guidance on what I should do and what I should do, what I shouldn't do, and kind of using that information and kind of leveraging it to, you know, grow it.
And like you said, you mentioned mentorship a lot, and that's such an important part because it's kind of inevitable, no matter what your creative, process is or what your product is, you're gonna more or less you're gonna run into some money pitfalls just because you're having to build it from scratch. You're learning what you don't know, and just Lord knows the amount of money that you go through with stuff like that. And then so you mentioned also the fact that you tried one manufacturer, got some samples done, wasn't really hitting. Went to another manufacturer, got some samples done. It wasn't hitting. Then you finally found your stride with the right people. How important is that perseverance? Because I think a lot of folks, especially once the money starts adding up and once, the not being able to see that finish line, like it kind of makes things dissipate. Like how important is that perseverance and what kept you motivated to make it through to this end?
I think the difference between, the people that are in the industry or in any industry that's successful and they're not, are just the consistency and perseverance. Like if you don't have that, I don't think you can be consistent. You can be successful in anything. So you just have to push forward if you want to reach your goals. Like I don't think it's nothing, they got a saying that says, I think the saying is like nothing that comes easy or nothing that comes hard is easy, something like that. Some kind of saying
Yeah.
they have like that. So just the perseverance because I know I had something good. I just felt like I had something good. And this was before anybody told me I had a good product or anybody said anything about the product. I just felt like I hadn't seen anything out there like that on the market. And if I can somehow get it on the market, I know that it would be one of those niche products in the market like nobody else had. And I knew it could be successful. So that's kind of perseverance where it comes from. What was your other question? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, really just like what, you mentioned it, like what keeps you going. You could say you have that goal.
Keeps me going. Yeah, motivation and driver for me has always been, like I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. Is time, having my time. That's freedom to do the things that you would like, freedom to, spend more time with your family, freedom to whatever it may be, whatever your why is or why you're doing it. I think for me, it's just the freedom of getting some of my time back because I still do work a regular job, to make ends meet. So entrepreneurship has always been something I want to do so I can kind of control it on my time. Not to say I won't work and I won't put in a lot of hours, but at least it will be around my own time. So that's kind of the reason why it's my
Yeah. No, it definitely hits different when it's like you're really investing back in yourself. Like it's really
right.
this is your thing. So it's like you're the only one that can make it succeed or fail. And like, so the stakes are like higher, but it also, like you say, it makes you want to rise to that occasion for sure.
Right.
can definitely attest to that. So let's talk about a little bit more
Absolutely.
outside of the technical aspect. So when it comes to your brand, I've been seeing the promo. I see you've been having, all types of different folks, taking pictures with it, using the bag, actually when they're traveling, getting that real world and that real customer experience back and everything like that. What would be do you have any dreams of like any like collaborations or anything like that in the future? What would you want ASPS to be in the next like 5 years? Just off
As far as a brand, or are you talking about as far as like a collaboration with
as a
somebody?
brand, as a brand. Yeah.
As a brand, I kind of want to do it a little bit differently, I think, than a lot of other brands. I want to bring a lot of um, exclusiveness to my brand. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, if I put out 100 bags, and those sell out, I might not bring that bag back out into a couple years from now. I might put
Okay.
out another product, and then because I have a lot of different ideas. I have a lot of different things I want to do as far as the full line of travel. You know what I mean? Like sling bags, backpacks, golf bags, just anything of the higher caliber type stuff. Uh, and I also want to do kind of a pop-up thing where, kind of like a pop-up tour with my brand, going from city to city, popping from city to city, and have it scheduled out. We'll be in New
Yeah.
York in February. We'll be in LA and what you call 'em. We'll be in Paris, and so kind of like a pop-up shop type deal is what I want to do. So more exclusivity than just it being, I guess, a real ride brand. I'm not really focused on it being a real ride brand, although if it does, I will gladly welcome it. But that's not my focus. My focus is more of the exclusivity of the brand more than anything. Like the limitedness of the brand is kind of how I want to, you know what I mean? Be like when you see somebody with that bag, you'll be like, where did you get that bag from? I haven't seen too many people with that bag. Kind of how I want that the brand to be in itself.
I think in this space that we're in fashion too, where there's a fine line between like exclusivity and, people just wanting things like at a microwave rate. I think what you're talking about is like, you're talking about something that is going to be small batch, basically. When
Hmm.
you get it, you get it. If you don't, you got to wait, you know?
You got to,
Yeah, and it builds that anticipation too. I think it's a very interesting model overall in the industry because I find myself overall I'm not a drop person, right? Like drops really give me anxiety. Like I don't like,
right.
just because I am one of those people. I'm like, oh, I like that. Let me go and get that, but I don't have time to right now, or like I don't have, I got the money to right now, whatever. But then it's gone, and so it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It makes me want it more. You know,
Hmm.
for example, I just got there are these pair of Nikes, these Nike Air Raids. Apparently, first came out in the '90s, right? And then I didn't know they were a re-release because I don't really keep up with when shoe drops happen and everything. But the last time I saw them released was probably around like 2012, 2013, and
Hmm.
I was then. But I didn't get them at the time. And then by the time I was
Hmm.
going to get them, probably like a year later, they were back in the vault. So but I finally got them this year in 2025. So, but to your point, like I waited, and I was like, okay, I got to get them because this is a thing not coming back. So, yeah, I think you definitely hit it on the head with that exclusivity, and I think it gives you more control overall. Like I say, you're an entrepreneur. It's going to be you creating everything. You're going to have the final say because it is your business. So it gives you more brand control. And I think that's something that we're seeing a lot of muddiness in the fashion sphere with brands kind of losing their way, you know?
Some of those ones are like say Gucci, Louis Vuitton, some of those and how they drop. I think I got the idea kind of from the Jordan model. As you see, Jordan drop a whole bunch of shoes and then they went in the vault and now he brings back those shoes, you know what I mean? Slowly
Right.
but surely. But Jordan does it at a more faster rate than I would want to do it. But that same model that builds that anticipation. Because like if the Jordan threes come out tomorrow, people gonna want to get them because they haven't came out in 10 years. It's been 8 years or 7 years. So that's kind of the
Right.
model kind of how I want to do it and how I would like it. Right.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, I think. I think overall it'll help you as well be more sustainable in the market too, because you can take time, like you said, and really focus on the craft of it. And unlike some of the, like you mentioned, some of the larger heritage houses, like, your Gucci's and Louis Vuittons and everything, they've been around for so long that they are able to kind of just lean on just name recognition. And like you said, people just want it just because of the name. Because some of the pieces, lack some
And they came out recently with some of the material they're using wasn't what they said it was. It's lower
right.
quality than it used to be now. You know what I mean? So they're really just leaning on the name of Gucci. It's not really about the product anymore. So I never want to be a company where I just lean on my name if I get a big name and I'm just leaning on the name more than the product. I still want the product to be at the forefront of everything that I do.
Right. Okay, then that's the perfect setup. So let's talk about the product itself a little bit more. So, what can people expect with this first round of bags that's coming out? You said hopefully in November is what we're projecting. What can someone expect that bag to look like? Give us a little bit more of the specs on it.
So the specs on it are it's canvas material. The canvas is all gray on it, of course. And then we have the cowhide cognac leather on it. Now the inside has a dark brown suede on it, which is probably my favorite feature of the bag because if you combine the gray and the brown and the dark brown leather, it gives it a great contrast of how the bag looks. It is two separate compartments in there, as is known. You can fit up to two pair of shoes in each compartment if you want to. You can kind of compartmentalize how you want it. You can do one section where it's just your clothes. And for me, like I can pack 4 or 5 outfits on the first row by itself, and then I can put two pair of shoes on this one and two pair of shoes on that one, so I can fit 4 pair of shoes and at least 3 or 4 outfits in there. But outside of that, it also has a two side compartments for your keys or your passport or whatever you might have extra. And then there's an open zipper on the compartment where you can put all of your accessories in there. Your man, your cologne, your lotion, if you're a woman, your makeup, whatever things you want to put on there. And then there's also a zip pocket on the front of it when it zips up that you can put some additional stuff in. So those are the great aspects of it. It's not just a bag where you can keep shoes in it. You can keep clothes, you can keep accessories, you know what I mean? Anything that you need can go in that bag when you're traveling on your trip. Anything you can think of that you need to pack in that bag, it can go in that bag and it can last you at least 3 to 4 days.
That's good. It sounds very spacious. So it definitely got room for everything, and it's a backpack style, right?
So you can carry it. See, this is also the great thing about the bag. You can carry it as a backpack, or there's a strap on it for a shoulder, or you can carry it as a crossbody. Or if you get tired of, or you carry it as a handheld also as well, because there's a handheld on the top of it. And if you get tired of carrying it all together, you can just slide it on your luggage and roll it in the airport. Because there's a space on the back of it to slide it in your luggage and just roll it.
Nice. So would it be considered for airline travel? Would it be considered like carry-on size?
I made sure the dimensions are where you can do carry on because every time I go to the airport, I wanted to make sure that you could just put it in the overhead. And every time I go in the airport, get on the plane, I put it in the overhead compartment, fits in there perfectly. So it's carry on ready.
That's perfect. I mean, I think that with the way that people are traveling nowadays, I've seen more and more people using just the carry-on. And I always wondered myself, like, how, and more so as a man, I'm like, how do I fit everything that I need in just what I would deem like that smaller carry-on size? Because I think for me, and I think this goes back to why you designed the bag in the first place, is putting the shoes in the bag. Two pairs of shoes to me is taking up all the space in my suitcase. And then if
Too
it's
much space.
wintertime, yeah, if it's wintertime and I'm packing heavy clothes like a sweater or something like that, I'm like, I don't have any room. So I'm always having to end up checking a bag because I need space. But it sounds like this would kind of alleviate that problem a little bit.
Yeah, this will definitely alleviate that problem because like I said, you can, even if you were just a carrier, let's just say you were just carrying two pairs of shoes, you still got two other sections to put any other items you want to put in there. And then, like I said, we got additional front pocket. Then we got a pocket when you open it up. It's space everywhere in the bag, pretty much for you to carry anything you want, all of your accessories, any of your facial care products that you might have, lotion, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever it may be. All of that can fit inside of this bag.
Perfect, perfect. Now, the main thing that people are gonna want to know, since we're talking about exclusivity too, and that's why we're gonna go it. what is our price point that we're kind of for something like this?
So the price point for the big bag is 410 for the big bag. Now the mini backpacks that I have that are coming out, which I don't even think I actually showed you yet. I think you might have seen them. Those are going to be about 135 or 140 for those.
Okay, okay. And this, but we've got canvas, we've got leather, so we've got high quality materials and a rugged feel.
Yes.
Okay, that's justifiable. I mean, it's a great price, and because it's small batch as well, it makes sense. I mean, it's a great price point. Honestly, we see people paying a lot more for a lot less.
A lot less, exactly. A whole lot more for a whole lot less.
So if someone says, "Hey, I see your bag. I like this." Where would someone go to go get one when it drops?
So my website is live right now, and that will be at www. It's pretty simple, ASPSLuxury.com. So just the initials of the bag, ASPSLuxury.com. And when they drop, it'll be live for you to purchase a bag on the website as soon as it drops.
Perfect, perfect. And you're doing again small batch, so it's kind of like once you get it, you get it. If not,
It's gone. Right.
let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about the broader fashion industry and like fashion in general. So, who are some of your influences, if you have any, in the fashion sphere? Whether it be designers, creative directors, brands themselves. Who are some of the folks that you turn to for inspiration?
I think who I turn to for inspiration, who I've seen would be Pharrell, just because the simple way how he is redefined himself over the years, kind of going from the BBC to Louis Vuitton, just the way he's kind of pivoted a lot in the industry. Like if something wasn't working, he was able to pivot and go into another space, and then we go into that space, kind of like BBC kind of came back a little bit and kind of, took the forefront. So I would say Pharrell. I would say another person would be Amari. I think it's called Amari. Is it Amari? Amari. I kind of watched his
Yeah,
journey, and is Amari. Yeah. I watched his journey. He kind of talked about his journey of how he got into the space and how he did. Very, very, very great story on him of how he got in and kind of some of the things he did and his preservation. And so those two, somebody else in the space. I think those would be pretty much the two people that I get inspired from when I see them do certain things that they do. And also Virgil, which was, is not here anymore. God bless his soul. Just the captive way that Virgil was able to do things and the way he did them and how he was constructed them and then how he used to talk about it when he did it. I think he definitely inspired me as well.
yeah. I think Virgil really is. I don't think I recognized how much work Virgil did until after he passed. I just read a GQ article from I think last month's issue where they were talking about how his wife is like opening up his archive now and they're trying to make an actual like kind of like living museum of all the things he's done. I mean, and it's just storage units and storage units and storage units of like his personal collection of things, but also design sketches, process books, all the stuff that he's done from
Mhm.
Off-White to Louis and everything like that. So definitely somebody who left behind a body of work for sure. He's definitely one of my favorites as well.
A whole body of work. And think about it, he was only what, 40 something when he passed away. So imagine what he would have done if he had more time to do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that overall has been missing a little bit in the fashion space is people working and overall in in all the creative industries really is I think we've gotten away from working in bodies of work. And people are just kind of putting out, pieces, whether that be like whether it's a single for a song or, this line. I think in the fashion industry specifically, it used to be you did 2 seasons a year, spring, summer, fall, winter. Now it's like designers are putting out collections every 2 months. And so it's like, how do you kind of keep customer interest or brand integrity when you're constantly pushing out things and not letting stuff really kind of settle in with anybody.
Right. I mean, I think from a creative standpoint, like you to me, I don't think you can keep pushing out ideas every 2 months. It just creatively, you need time to think about creatively what you want to do, and you might change your mind 100 times before you decide on something. So, you as a brand or of any brand, like if you're putting it out like that, like you said, some of the integrity is gone because you're not really focusing on the product. You just think about what can I put out to make money, and if that's your end goal, you're just putting out stuff to make money. Then your product me is never going to be as great as it's going to be if you're putting out a product of what can I give the customer? What's the best thing I can give the customers out here that they will really appreciate? So I think that's the mindset has to be customer based and customer focused on what's the customer gonna feel about your product, when you put it out and if you put this out, are they're really gravitating to it because it's a product or is it gravitating to it because it's your name on the product?
Right. And I think that customer feedback and, like you said, really understanding who you are, who your audience is, and what they're actually looking for means so much more. I think what it's come down to is some of the brands are trying to lead us instead of us like kind of telling them. So like they're kind of telling us what we should be thinking about, what we should be buying, all those kind of things. So
Right. And I think that's all that's just in the media, that's in TV, that's in everywhere. They program it to be that way.
let's talk a little bit about like how the importance of one having an online presence and social media. We're in the TikTok generation. Everyone's trying to have a viral moment. And it seems like as soon as you get that viral moment, there's the next one coming around. But it's also a question of, does that work for everybody? And it doesn't. So how do you kind of navigate that landscape with being a new brand, being, and trying to get the word out there, but recognizing that you have to kind of use social media? What have you kind of found with that? And kind of like, what are your thoughts on that so far for yourself?
So for myself, for me, it's been, I think, pretty tough because I'm more of a private person than just an all out person. So I'm not a person, if I had a personal page, I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna post and I'm gonna talk and that's not my character, who I am. I'm more private than anything. So what I found out, I guess, through social media, what I'm finding out through social media is that you have to have some kind of presence in order to grow that awareness. People don't like faceless brands for the most part. They like brands who they kind of recognize, who they can identify with, people who you know what I mean, that kind of your morals that line up to theirs and they feel like they have a sense of to know who you are. Uh, just learning to put myself out there a little bit more than I normally would do, because normally it wouldn't happen, but I know that I run a business. It's just what has to happen. There's no way around it. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned and I'm learning right now, that you just got to put yourself out there. No matter if you like it, don't like it. You know what I mean? Like you might look at something and say, "Oh, I don't like how that look." I put that out. I don't like how that look. But just being yourself and being you, people will appreciate you being yourself.
That's very true. And like you said, what people really, the era of like a faceless brand does not work anymore.
No.
Because everyone, I think the biggest thing is, now that we are in a space where one, people have so much access. So people, let me take it back for a second. I think in a way, we're almost going back to like the earlier days of fashion houses when they were run by the name of the house. So when Chanel was running Chanel, when Cristobal Balenciaga was running Balenciaga, people, they may not have been superstars in the way that they are now, but people knew who that person was. So they were able to connect the person with the brand and that aesthetic and things. And now, people are very conscious about where they're spending their money, who they're aligning themselves with, especially with brands. We see a lot of brands getting in trouble for saying that they're one way and then completely doing something different. And then the people in charge of that being held accountable for it. So I totally agree. It's definitely something like leading with kind of who you are, putting yourself out there, letting people know what you're about, what your company is about, so that they can get comfortable with you. Definitely helps in the beginning. It's always a risk because, like you said, you kind of end up having to put a little bit more of your personal in with the business and finding that line
Yeah.
blurry sometimes. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's only, like I said, it's only a couple of brands out there. It's two brands out there that I know that we don't know who owns it. Like it's a brand called Vance, Vinse.
Okay.
And I like the brand, but I don't know who owns the brand. We've never seen the person that owns the brand, but that's one. And another one is called All Saints. It's kind of like a collection of, yeah, but we don't know who owns All Saints. So it is a few brands out there that can do that, but for the most part, like if you're a new brand, like you can't go faceless if you're a new brand. Now down the line, once my brand builds, I probably will kind of step a little bit more, you know what I mean, in the back shadows of it once the brand builds. But as of right now, that's just not possible or feasible to do right now. I have to be in the forefront of everything I'm doing. Number one, because I'm working, I'm a one man machine. So yeah, I have a choice but to do it.
If you had if you had to expand your team, because I know my answer to this is, But if you had
Okay.
to expand your team right now, what would be like the top thing you'd be like, all right, I need someone to do this?
Marketing sure be the marketing portion of it. For sure be the marketing portion of it. Yeah, just probably a personal assistant. That'll probably be the first thing that when I start hiring, that's going to be the first individual that I hire would be a personal assistant, kind of like a multitask person that can do a little bit of everything. That's the kind of person I would need starting off, and then kind of branch off into some of the other things. But from a creative standpoint, I think I'll always keep that creative standpoint. I don't think I would ever hire anybody to create from a creative standpoint. So I have a vision of how I want to look. I have a vision of probably about 15 or 16 different pieces already that I have in my mind that I know I'm going to do. So from a creative standpoint, it'll probably just be me. Yeah, probably a personal assistant for the marketing portion of it because I hate the marketing portion of it all. I hate the social media. The pop-ups are okay. The pop-ups, the meet and greets. I'm just not, it's something if I had a choice to do it, I probably wouldn't do it. So probably the marketing portion of it is what I would hire somebody for. What
That's
about yourself?
me, same, actually. Really that because in my 9 to 5 work, I do work in marketing. So I know how this works. And so I am able to bring that into my side of things. But again, like I said, being a one man show, it's like
Yeah,
what I really need is a camera person.
right.
I really need someone to, yes, yes,
That's a good one as well. That's a good one as well. That would be great.
because on my end, what I really want to show more of, I try and do like, sewing videos and things and showing myself, actually making some of these things instead of just a finished product. But it's hard for me to just set up the camera and go because I have so many things that I don't just sit down and sew. I'm doing like 10 other things while I'm sewing. I've got music on. I'm probably dancing. I'm probably like halfway undressed because it's hot. So it's like,
Right.
really set up the way I need to. But definitely a full-time marketing slash camera person and a personal assistant 100%. Um, just to keep stuff organized a little bit better because it's difficult. And to your point about the pop-ups, like I actually prefer pop-ups because I like to talk to the people. And that's what's been me just here in Charlotte locally is getting out, talking to folks, telling people what I do. Like, cause I'll do a pop-up where I'll sell like some of the clothes I made or like just vintage stuff. But what I really want people to do when they come over and talk to me is so I can go and tell them like, hey, yeah, if you like this, I can actually make you this. I can actually do alterations for this. I can do all these other things. That's usually what they're really like, wow, I didn't know that. Let me call you, you know?
To your point, I seen that I meant to say this earlier. I seen that you were on the magazine for Q News in Carolina. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was
Bravo.
that was an unexpected call. I literally got a call, an email from one of the staff writers, and it's a publication that I read all the time here. And they email me like, hey, we're doing our next issue on, LGBT creators in the area through all different facets. Your name came up as someone we should talk to, and we've definitely been looking at your work. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like, that's just from me wanting to build those connections. Like I said, I literally go out and talk to people all the time, and I love having
Hmm.
that face-to-face interaction instead of just on social media. But social media is, like you said, it's one of those things we kind of have to do because you can't get around it, really.
It's no getting around it.
Yeah. So what's the market like in Dallas? Like as far as just for fashion in general? 'Cause I know at least in Texas is traditionally a big bridal market as far as the fashion industry. I know that much. But how has that been with you? I know you're still in the process. You're just about to start going like live with everything, but building up that interaction with the community and like talking to folks. What's that experience kind of been like for you?
It's been kind of tough because, like you said, we're more of a bridal here. More here is like bridal, tech, oil. Those are the strong suit industries here. So I don't, fashion is kind of on the back burner for them here. So it's been kind of tough being here in Texas because it just doesn't offer some of the things that some of the other cities offer. But at the same time, people are people, and there's a lot of people here that have great influence. There's a lot of people that here that have great wealth here. So anytime you have that is always an opportunity. If you have that, it's just about trying to position myself to and get around the right people and be in the right places at the right time. So that's more of what I've been doing more strategically, trying to get around the right people in the right places at the right time.
And that's really what it's about. It's about that relationship building because
It
you
is all
never know.
about relationship. This is a relationship business. There's nowhere around that.
Absolutely. And something I was actually thinking about earlier today is so at my job, like everyone at my job knows that I sew, that I make my own stuff. I'm typically wearing something that I made every day. And so one of my
Mhm.
co her mother sewed for a very long time and everything. And so that she's like now, downsizing her house and everything and cleaning out her attic. And she's like, hey, my mom is getting rid of a lot of stuff. She has boxes and boxes of fabric and patterns and all types of stuff. And she's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to do with them. Like, I don't want to just get rid of them. And she was like, I know somebody. I know someone who'll take those off your hand. And it was me. And I was like, and typically I too am really a very private person. Like I'm definitely, especially at work, I'm one of those people that's like, I come in, I do my job, I'm cool hanging and talking to y'all and everything like that. But I'm not here to make friends. It's cool if we vibe, but I'm here to do my job, go home and do what I want to do. But there is an advantage to, you know, letting people in, a little bit more and like sharing kind of a little bit more about like what you do, what your interests are, and stuff like that. Cause if people didn't know that about me, I wouldn't have got that. And I mean, I've been looking through the boxes. I got one over in the corner right now. And yeah, but
Right. Ready to
it's
open.
testament to that relationship building, truly. You never know who can help you along your journey just by sharing with them.
Yeah, definitely. And you can be somewhere, you can be talking to somebody, and you can look at them and say, well, they're not in the space that I'm in, or they're not really what you call them. And then you start talking to them, and you realize, like, they might not, but they might know somebody who is, and that person might know somebody else. You really do with being a designer everywhere you go. You really need to put yourself out there, no matter what the situation is, because you never know who you're going to meet, and there's always advantages to it. You don't need to overshare, but you can still kind of put yourself out there, no matter where you're at, and you never know what can come of that opportunity from meeting somebody.
Absolutely. So another thing with being, an entrepreneur and, navigating the business, as a new person to it or whatever have you, you're going to meet folks that are not the greatest all the time.
Yeah,
So
I met a lot of it.
yeah, how have you, if you've had any of those experiences, which I'm sure you probably had a couple, maybe, how have you been able to navigate, you know, hey, this relationship, maybe not this, or, what have you learned from if you've gotten involved with some folks that really haven't been the best and you've had to pivot, just how's that kind of been for you?
I think I've always had, I think I've always had a great intuition and a great feel for people. So I think when I get around people and I start to talk to them, I can smell the BS pretty quick. You know what I mean? It don't take me that long to really figure certain people out. So I haven't dealt with bad people for a long time. I've had a couple of people that I've had in the fashion space that, hey, I'm gonna take underneath my wings, and I start talking to them. I'm like, okay, well, I don't think this is gonna be good for me. You know what I mean? I think they just look out looking to get some money, because everybody has a mentorship these days. Everybody is a mentor. Everybody has a program they want to sign you up for. Everybody want to charge you a certain amount for their services. That's just the thing now with social media. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody's had this business. Everybody's had that business. Everybody's been in a fashion reel. So, just kind of using my intuition and my gut feeling, I think more than anything has helped me out to kind of feel people out when I don't feel like something is right with them. I'll move away from it very quick.
Intuition is key for sure because like you said, there's a lot of people that you know they're just trying to do whatever it is their thing is, but it may not be the best route to take it, or their intentions just aren't the best. Or if a lot of people, let me rephrase it like this: a lot of folks get into business, especially being an entrepreneur. We've already discussed that it's not for the faint of heart. You've got to really stick in there. You've got to really persevere. But how important is it to plan? And when I say plan, I mean really thinking about every aspect of the business from like, all right, cool. I put the product out there, the customer has it, but now there's a customer issue. How do I handle that? Or how do I deal with, hiccups in manufacturing, whatever have you? And a lot of these things, you don't see them until they happen, or you don't, foresee them. Still, how important is the planning aspect to entrepreneurship?
The planning of it is vital to business. If you don't plan it out right, one bad mistake in production and that could, cost you your whole line. Just an example of something that recently happened to me. So um I was with another company and we were planning to produce and there's an issue. And before the issue got to me, I found out there was an issue with the whole bag line. Now, what they were originally going to do is send me out the bag, and then when there was an issue, they were going to have me send them back. They're going to charge me to send all the bags back to them. And that could be, that could be a killer for when you're a young business and when you're a small business. Uh, a mistake like that can, that can stop you in your tracks. Yeah, that can stop you in your tracks. So just kind of planning out everything in every situation in your head. Well, what if this happen? What I do if that happens? What I do if this happens? Just like the company I went out there in India. So over in India, for me to ship them back, the tariffs went up tremendously, but I already had been reading up on it. I knew it was going to happen. So it was no surprise to me. I already knew it was going to happen. I already had plans for it. So just being aware of when that's another thing, like when you're doing stuff out of the country, there's so many different things that come apart when you have to get your shipment back here. Because after the production is done, after you've made the product, you still got to get it back over here. You still got to pay customs. You still got to get a customs broker. You still got to pay tariffs. There's so many other things. Um, just being ahead of the curve is very important and very vital in business. And if you're not, it can sink your business because if you're not ready for additional costs, then you know, it can sink your business. So I just think like when you're doing this, you have to have some kind of mentor. You have to have somebody to give you some information on this because if you don't, like it's almost impossible for you to make it without having some kind of form of mentorship, whether it be a little bit or a lot, whatever it may be. You need someone that's been through the process that can give you that wisdom that you need. But you're gonna need it in this process because when you deal with a lot of people and you deal with manufacturers, even if they're a good manufacturer, they're not going to tell you everything. They're not going to tell you, hey, you produce this bag, you still got to pay X, Y, and Z to get it over to you. I'm going to tell you, hey, it's going to cost you this and this is what I'm going to ship it back to you. But I'm not telling you about the rest of the cost when you get it to you, when you get to, if you're sending it by sea, if you send it by air, however you want to do it. So there's a lot of ins and outs in the business that if you don't know, it can sink you. So you have to be prepared and you have to plan for it. You have to be kind of ahead of the curve with that to know what's going on and know every and something the mentor told me, every dollar counts when you're a small business. Everything that you spend, it counts, and you have to make it count. You have to know where it's going. You have to know what your projection is. You have to know how much you're spending on this. You have to know a budget for that. So all of that. So my mentor gave me a good kind of a good foundation. So I kind of had an idea of everything that was going on even before it happened.
Good. That is so vital, like you said. And I feel as though in the space, in the fashion space, but I'll speak specifically for Black entrepreneurs in the space in general. I think that we have a unique situation where, one, we're already dealing with the fact that we don't have as much of an advantage as our white counterparts just because of the way the system is set up for us. But then, two, I think sometimes what we're seeing a lot of is we'll see people get into the space that, they've made it, they've gotten to a place, and then it's kind of like this gatekeeping. Not everybody, but we see like some of this gatekeeping that people do where they don't want to share the knowledge that they've had. And I don't think anyone's asking for just give me a handout type thing, but like more so like, hey, if I come to you and like, hey, I see that you've done this well and I'm in that same space, like, can you give me some tips and tricks, or can I work, can I mentor under you, can I do whatever have you, just to get some of that knowledge. And some people are not receptive to that, and it's like this crab in a barrel mentality. You can find somebody that's
Hmm.
willing and able, because it really costs I fully believe it costs nothing to give someone the information, because at the end of the day I can give you the water. If you want to drink it, that's great. If you don't, then I gave it to you. But it cost me nothing to give it to you, because you got to do something with it. So I've noticed that a lot, even in my journey. I have definitely think I've met a lot of people that are really, really do want to invest the time and like, want to help me along that journey. But then I met people that, it's very clear, I got it, you got to go get it. It's like, trust me, I'm going. I'm just trying to bounce some ideas off you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's that way. There's been a couple of up and coming brands here that I said, hey, it would be great to collaborate with you. You know what I mean? And kind of reach out to them, and you can tell they was like, no, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're kind of along the way, and you're just kind of getting started. So it's like you're going to be probably piggybacking off of us, so we don't want you to do that. So it's definitely a certain kind of mentality that they have. And then also too, as you know, it's not there many black men in the fashion space really. This is really predominantly ran by women. You know what I mean? Uh, Being a black man and being in the fashion space is very hard. So nobody's looking to give you any information in that business. You just kind of got, like you said, I'm gonna get it either way. Like if you give it to me, you don't give it to me. It might take me a little longer, but I'm still gonna get down that road the same way that I'm going. I'm still going that direction either way. I
absolutely.
don't take it too personal. It's just business sometimes, It's just the way the business goes.
Yeah. And you have to have a thick skin. Other than that perseverance, you have to really have that like grit and that thick skin to be like, all right, you know what? If I want to do this, I'm gonna make it happen regardless. And knowing that keeping that good footing and keeping moving forward, there's gonna be people, you'll find more people as opposed to not that really do want to invest in you, that want to help you along that way, that want to, do right by you because you'll do right by them. And so it's just that, passing it along kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think if you keep consistently working, they'll find you. I think if you consistently working on your craft, working on what you got going on, the right people to find you. They'll find you. You just got to keep working and kind of keep that layers of focus and keep that tunnel vision on what you're doing, and you'll run into the right people. They'll find you when it's time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's just not time yet. You know what I mean? Because we come from a generation, I think, where we want this microwave stuff. We want the success overnight. You know what I mean? And I think all of us are like that. I think anybody's in business, when you go in business, you automatically want to be successful. You automatically want to be like this. You automatically want to be like that. And that's just not how it works. When you're building something, it takes time to build something, especially in this fashion business. So you just have to be patient and keep working and working and working and working. The right people will find you if you keep working.
Yeah. And like I said, building it takes time because if you want it to be sustainable, if you want it to continue to grow, if you want to be able to at least keep up with how fast it's growing. I think another thing that happens sometimes people get really successful really quickly, but they don't know how to maintain that success. So going back to those like good business practices or just having the knowledge of, like you said, like, hey, okay, well, everything was going great when the manufacturer was doing what they needed to do, but now that factory shut down. So what do I do now?
Right.
So pivot for sure.
Or a lot of people have like one or two creative ideas, and after that, they're blank. They don't know what else they're gonna do after that. Okay, I came up with these two things and they've been successful, but what do I do now? I don't have any other ideas. So for me, always stay in a creative space where I can create and I can think of what's the next product after that. Even if I haven't put it out, even if I haven't even started on it yet, I still have it lined up when it's time to put it out. I'll be able to, put them out when I need to put them out.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's turn to media for a minute. There's a lot going on in the media sphere of things, not just in fashion, but just in general. It's a big year for movies, all those type of things. So I'm wondering how much of that, if anything, has caught your attention. If it's kind of inspired you. I know we talked about like different brands and creative people that have inspired you, but do you get inspired by media or music at all? I know that I do. I do a lot. Most of my inspiration comes from um, particularly the music space and like what's kind of going on in like the popular culture. So I'm wondering if any of that is true for you as well.
Yeah, I think that the most recent thing, I'm inspired by a lot of different music, but I'm inspired by what I feel like is authentic music. Somebody that's doing themselves, not really keeping up with the trends or the fads in music, but just putting out music in the way they want to put it out and let people perceive it how they want to perceive it. So for me, like I guess you could say the most recent one is the Eclipse album. I think the Eclipse album was a great album they put out, and the way they put it out and the way they wrote it out, from the marketing to the, the production side of it, everything was like A1 with how they put that out. So I think that album kind of inspired me a little bit when that came out and how they wrote that out. And yeah, and now that's inspired me the most. Another person that kind of inspired me is Kendrick Lamar. Big fan of Kendrick Lamar. He inspires me a lot with the way he creatively and the way he uses the words, the things he says in the music, that most people don't catch because when you listen to a song, they listen to it for the beat, you know what I mean, as opposed to the lyrics and what somebody's actually saying. So he's another one. So yeah, there's a lot of different artists out there. I think music plays a huge part in creating that as well.
Same. I think, I mean, Kendrick's, I didn't even listen to all of Kendrick's last album, but his Super Bowl performance really took it there for me. Just the way he was able to
Yeah.
creatively put all that together. I mean, just all the different aspects. He is one of my top artists that I really look to as far as like, I love his creativity. I love the way that he makes things, go together. I love his lyrics. He's very lyrical, which is great. He's a poet for sure. And I appreciate that. So transitioning back to the fashion sphere of things, one of the most fascinating fashion outlets for me is, of course, the professional sports world. I'm not even a huge sports follower, but I love watching the tunnels. I love watching the tunnels because I'm like, these guys and gals really put it up, and that would be something I would love to see for myself, like being able to have one of my pieces on, a professional athlete, someone that's really trying to step outside the box, do something cool with their brand. I wonder if that's a goal for you, if that would be a goal for you, if there's any athletes or any professional sports folks or any celebrity at all that you really feel like maybe encompasses the idea and what ASPS really is and what it stands for.
So yeah, I mean, I think I've always had that feeling of it would be great to see that bag come out of the tunnel of one of the NBA players. To be honest with you, I think when I created it, I did created it with athletes in mind. First athletes and then kind of entrepreneurs, business professionals, but specifically athletes was my general thought. Like this would be a dope bag if an athlete carried it when he was, going to, from here to wherever they were going. So yeah, I think that would be great to have to see your piece coming down the tunnel and them to, to picture your piece. A couple athletes that I feel like embody what I like. I would say a Kyrie Irving. I like the way he just is himself. I like the way he just speaks his mind. I like how he's different from just everybody else. He's not trying to fit in. He's just himself at the end of the day, and that works for him in a many different ways. So he would be one athlete that would be great to see the pieces with. Another athlete, I think his name is PJ Tucker. He's a known sneakerhead in the NBA, like all of the latest and everything. He has everything. And just his style and the way he dresses as well, it kind of combinates with his shoes and his clothes and, the jewelry, all of it kind of combinates together. So he would be another one that I would love to see walk out of the tunnel with a bag.
I definitely like Kyrie is one of the people that I do like. I really do like his style. Russell Westbrook is definitely one of my top people. I've always loved the way he dresses. He put out a book some years ago. It's like a huge like coffee table book of like all his like looks and everything. I rushed to buy it. I have it. It's great. Look at it like almost every other day. I have sticky notes actually, besides some of the outfits that he's worn, just because they're like really that dope. And that was from like probably like 2019, maybe 2020 when that came out. I mean, it's only going to go up from there. So I didn't ask you this earlier, but how would you describe your personal style?
My personal style, my personal style, my personal style is really kind of a more relaxed fit, I guess you can say. But I like pieces that are I won't want to say grungy, but kind of give you that grungy look, kind of like the shirt I got on is kind of like kind of give you that grungy look. More of I like a lot of browns and a lot of green, kind of like a lot of earth tone colors. I think they look I combine well with those. So I'm not an overly dressy person, but I'm kind of like a casual type person.
Casual is good. I flow between super casual at the house and then dressing like a living human peacock in real life. So that's just kind of where I'm at. But it's always interesting to see. What I love seeing is designers, how they present themselves and then the product that they create. Because sometimes those things are like one and the same. Other times, like it's almost like this is how I am, but this is who I would be if in another world type of deal
Right.
sometimes. So that's always
So I think a
interesting.
lot of times for me, like I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. So most of the time I'm walking around in gym clothes because that's what I'm normally in during the day. But if I'm going out, I definitely like to kind of dress it up a little bit, kind of, slacks, jeans, nice pullover, sweaters, love sweaters. I just love the color in general. I love scarves, I love beanies, kind of those looks is kind of the things.
So fall and winter are definitely like your seasons for really like putting it on.
Yes, those are my seasons. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I only like fall for the clothes. Other than that, I'm a summer person all day. I'd rather be in shorts and a t-shirt and some sandals. Like if it wasn't for the clothes, I'd be completely miserable, honestly.
Yeah, with this heat here in Texas, like this heat it makes you miserable in the summer. So I hate these summers here in Texas. Like it's November, like it's October now, and it's still 95 degrees outside now. So yeah,
It was 80 here in Charlotte today. So North Carolina, we have seasons, but they don't come when they're supposed to. So, so this has been great conversation. Really enjoyed learning more about you, about the brand, and everything that's coming up. So go ahead and tell us everything we need to know about the launch coming up, where we can find it, what we can expect, and how to just keep in contact and just keep up with your journey.
okay, yeah. So again, I'm gonna be launching it at the end of November. It will be live on the website. The website is www.aspsluxury.com. It will be the big bag, which is the shoe and accessory bag. And then the two mini backpacks will also be released on the same date in two different colors. One will be in the traditional brown and gray, and then the other one will be a tan, a light tan, and a brown color as well. You can find me on Instagram at ASPS_luxury. You can find me on what is that? TikTok. I couldn't even think of the name of it. You can find me on TikTok at ASPSluxury.com as well.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to the launch. Um, I wish you the best. I'm be looking forward to it. So I already know it's gonna be great. So it's only up from here. So I really appreciate you talking to me. It's been awesome. And we'll definitely do it again soon. Hopefully when,
For sure.
the next line comes out, we'll, revisit, in about a year or two.
Right, right. I got some tricks up my sleeve, so we'll discuss that later off air and then we'll bring that back in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. It's been great. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. God bless.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode of Oat Milk. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Give us a follow on Instagram at Oat Milk Pod, HAUTEMILKPOD, and stay up to date with the latest episodes, get behind the scenes clips, and just join in the conversation. Hope to see you on the next one. Until then, bye.